Better have your fucking third out.
Get started here soon. Thank y'all for tuning in already. About another minute, we'll get started. Yes, y'all. Welcome to the BreakEFX podcast. episode number, where are we at? I think we're on number 17 today. 17. Oh, there's Toby. So again, welcome to the podcast, episode 17, and we got a special guest today, Chase him down. Yes. So excited to have him. It's going to be an awesome episode. If you haven't already, and if you're new to this, hit the like and subscribe button down below. Join us every week. Like we said last night, we're going to be knocking these out the park, getting a bunch of stuff done, throwing a lot of history your way. So thank y'all for tuning in. Make sure you leave comments in the page if you're watching on the YouTube channel. We'll send shout outs, or if you have any questions for Chase, we'll get those at the end of the podcast. So we're super excited. Yeah.
Thank you, Chase, for giving us some time out of your day. This guy is super busy. He's always moving and grooving. So thank you once again. Yeah, man. Just also thank you for everyone that's tuning in and continue to support the podcast. We truly appreciate that. Yeah, happy Saturday, everyone. Yeah, how's everyone feeling? Yeah.
I'm glad the week's over.
Yeah,
I hear you on that. Hey, so Chase, what we do is we let everyone kind of give themselves a proper introduction. If you want to give yourself an introduction, give a shout out to your crews real quick and let us know who you're down with. But yeah, go ahead, give yourself a little shout out. Let us know who you are.
First of all, thank you for having me. My name is Chase Everett. My dance name is Chase 'em Down. I predominantly b-boy. I'm a breaker. I get down on the break. But I love other styles within hip hop. I love popping. I love locking. So I was born in Colorado. I live in Aurora. And yeah, man, that's who I am.
Nice. Yeah. Hometown kid, just like us.
Hometown. Yes, I love it, man. How long have you been dancing, Chase?
This is my 17th year.
What? Yeah. That's so awesome, bro. That's so awesome.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah,
Yes.
I started in 2004, 2003.
Yeah.
Yep.
So awesome.
Nice.
So, yeah. That's so awesome.
No, go for it. Go for it.
Okay. So what we like to do is, man, I think this is a cool. Our first question is always your first hip hop experience. The first time you saw it, experienced it. Man, tell us that story, because I think it's so important for everyone, just to know where it came from for them personally.
Yeah, definitely. Man, for me, I think basketball was hip hop to me before I knew that hip hop was this culture. And so all the athletes that I looked up to were the ones that were like the freshest ones. They were the ones that were my heroes. They were the ones to me that were the movers and groovers. So Michael Jordan, of course, Magic Johnson, Larry Bird, Dr. J, Julius Erving. And then we get into the, newer generations with like Kobe, Kevin Garnett, Vince Carter, Jason Williams. But then even older generations before, like Bird and Magic. There's like the Iceman, George Gervin, Pete Maravich. So basketball to me was like amazing because there was a rhythm to the game. The music was, it was always hip hop music, rap music, of course. So yeah, I didn't know anything about hip hop when I was playing basketball. To me, hip hop was the athletes that I looked up to and their lifestyles and how they got down. So that's kind of was my first hip hop experience. It was almost like it was in my life and I didn't really know it. And then besides that, my family is very musically oriented. And so my whole life growing up, my mother she's a jazz pianist. So she's always playing, music, and grew up listening to a lot of James Brown, a lot of Ray Charles, a lot of Eartha Kitt, a lot of Aretha Franklin, a lot of like soul and blues and R&B, B.B. King. Yeah, just like really good music in the household. My sisters were musicians and singers and played the piano. And so I think that combination of things right there, it was the musical influence, which is so important in my life. And then just basketball, man, just how basketball inspired me in that way to express yourself. Even when, coming up in basketball, it was very fundamental and, very, very competitive and very difficult. And then it got into really focusing on street ball, which big part of the culture of basketball. And, that was game changing too. As a fundamental basketball player, you get to see guys going off with the ball, was a great way to be inspired with creative ideas. So that was kind of the beginning was sport, through basketball, and then through music, big time.
That's probably, when you said the golden era at first, like Jordan, and all the like 90s golden era, it's almost like the one phase was coming in too. So the 3-on-3 competitiveness was, and it was mostly like a hip hop kind of experience when you are NBA jams. That's so cool.
And that was my life before I actually understood what I was doing through hip hop. And it was just like basketball during the season and then street ball during the summer. And it was just that. But then the music was all around it. So just constantly listening to music, different styles and genres, and feeling that rhythm, following that rhythm and the beats, and just that was already kind of in my heart. And then just as a child, I played the drums. So rhythm is big in my life, in my family. So it's kind of natural,
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah. And you got all that good, soul and funk going in the house. And I came up with that same kind of, funk, and it was, doo-wop and just R&B, and it kind of gives you that kind of that soul to you kind of relate to the soul a lot more with that kind of growing up in the house, I feel, for sure. Dope, dude. So dope.
That's crazy. Just like how like how basketball is so, it's so hip hop. It's like it's in its own way, like it's just different.
It's a part of the culture in a sense. Like dudes that play basketball are very much in tune to the culture. But there's no education around it, so they don't really know what it is. They just it's the energy of it. They understand the essence of what the culture is. So it's like it's about getting down and being fresh and being creative and being yourself and being unique and so it's a big part of it. So it's almost like it's always been a part of my life. And then when I actually started to seek it out, things started to become clearer, and I started to understand more about the history of hip hop culture and what hip hop culture even means and what it stands for, why it even exists. And then I jumped headfirst into that rabbit hole. It's just like, it was already in my heart. So once I discovered it, I had to continue pursuing it.
That's so awesome. That's so fresh, man. That's so dope. Yes. Okay. So let's talk about now the your first dance experience. First time you seen dance. First time you seen, dance in your life. Like, what happened next?
Dude, I think it was my brother-in-law. So this is how like my dancing started. I started dancing before I even knew like breaking. I didn't know moves. I didn't know styles. I didn't know anything. I just knew music. And I was playing college basketball in Sioux City, Iowa, and just going through a really rough patch in my life and really stuck because of where I was. And I had no healthy outlets. I had a lot of negative outlets, and I was doing those, and it was ruining my life, and I was really struggling, and I had nothing healthy to do besides the one thing that was crushing me in life, which was basketball. And so I kind of escaped through music, because it was like a lot of drugs, a lot of alcohol in my life, and so it was like how to escape it. And so music was one of those escapes. I was always able to get away through music. It just took me to a different dimension, a different place. And so it was like a safe place to go. So I would lose myself in music. And it did get to a point where, because both of my sisters, I have two older sisters, they're dancers, but they're like, they're very different in their styles. One is fundamentally trained ballerina, like to the T. She's like a technician. My other sister is very untrained, and she's organic and just like jazz, modern, just like crazy, just you know, and so they influenced me, you know. It's like growing up as a kid, dance was not masculine. It was not. It was like, I'm not doing that. When I was in high school, when I was a senior in high school, I was nominated for prom king, and I didn't go because I didn't know how to dance, and I didn't know how to dance with a girl. I was too unwilling to put myself like that out there and be humiliated because I didn't know what I was doing. So I think like having no outlet of expression and being stuck in life and going through really tough negative times, and then having my family inspiring me through dance and music, I just started like moving my body, and it felt good, man. I think that was the main thing. It was like whatever I was doing was probably whack in the eyes of anyone watching from a dancer's perspective, but the movement was immediately therapeutic. There was something about it that immediately triggered healing that it's hard to explain. So what happened is I started going to, you go in Iowa, you go to house parties. So we were always hitting house parties. And in Iowa, what's really dope is people dance, man. It's like crazy. Like, I mean, given they're inebriated beyond, reason, but the vibe is what it's about. And so the house parties were wild. I mean, you're talking like all the football players, all the soccer players, all the baseball players, all the basketball players, and then all the cheerleaders. And we just got down. And what happened was I just started releasing whatever that shit was in me. And I started getting down. I even started bringing my CDs because I was playing the music.
Yeah.
The party started. CD, disc changer and shit. But I just started getting down. And what was unique was people started like being like, oh shit, white boy's getting down. Back up, back up. And they started like giving me space. And so I kept going. And then what happened was I was getting attention from all the girls. I was like getting mad attention for it. And it was like, wow, it felt really good. I'm going to keep doing this. And then what happened is I would like actually go home and like try to practice. and I really believe my first style was like popping. I was probably popping. It was like whack ass popping. So, but yeah, I would just practice and in my room and just dance to whatever music I had. But I always had a very eclectic collection of music. So I always had good music to dance. And then what happened was eventually at these house parties, I'd get called out. All the football players would call me out, soccer players, and they'd start dancing on me. And that's been my life is competition. I was a basketball player, still am, still an athlete. So it was like, oh, let's go. This is it. And I just started battling before I even knew what I was doing. I started ciphering before I even knew what I was doing. And I started dancing before I knew what I was doing. It was simply like, I had been arrested. I had been kicked out of school. I was under a lot of substances, and I was ruining my life. And I found something that literally put me on a different path. It just like forced me away from the path I was going. And I was going down a real dark place. And so it's just like that. It's just, you can't explain it. It just kind of happened. And once I like had it, I was just like, I had to discover more knowledge. I had to go and actually walk the journey. And I started to take the journey and transformed myself from an athlete of one sport to transforming my body and my mind and how I can move and understand what was even happening. Because it was like, what's happening? It's coming through me, it's like, it's amazing.
That's an evolution right there. Just straight up, going from competition to movement like that.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people have that inside them, and they, channel it with, that competitive spirit. So that's super dope.
Yeah. Like when you were talking about N1, like that was what was significant. Cause like in sport, truly, like athletes don't get to express themselves. If you're in a real competitive, like a high level, like high level athletics. Like, no, you're following code, you're following fundamentals, and you're doing it, you know. And so you don't have that freedom of expression like you think, unless you're like, you know, one of the superior athletes, which, you know, there's a very small percentage in terms of that. And so for sport, there was this conforming culture involved that was like super toxic, super bad, where everyone has to compete against one another constantly. And, you know, once I started to dance, it was like, no one's telling me what to do with my body for like the first time in my life. No one's telling me what to do with my mind. I get to actually express it outward into the world. And like, when I actually do it, people are somewhat respecting me. It's like, what? It's like, I never had that voice. And so I didn't even start dancing until I was 19. And it was like, holy cow, man, if only I had that growing up, I would even be a better athlete. I mean, I'm a better athlete now than I was when I was a collegiate athlete.
Wow.
Yeah, it's cool. It's pretty cool.
That's really cool.
No, yeah, I think it's we a lot of people look at what we do and think it's impossible, you know, and it just I think we build our bodies in a way that do outperform, you know, other I mean, you're pretty much wrestling, you're doing jujitsu movements, you're pretty much a fighter, you know, you're pretty, you're training as much as a fighter would be in someone that's like contending in UFC or a boxer or something like that.
So my brother-in-law, so the first time I actually saw breaking, so the only time I actually saw what breaking was if you ever watch like old VHS basketball highlight reels, there would be, there's a reel of Shaquille O'Neal when he played for the Orlando Magic doing a backspin.
Yep.
In the center of the court. That, and then watching Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and that intro video, it was Michelangelo did like a backspin on his turtle on his turtle shell on the disco floor. Like, those are my two references. And then I think like something else, like Darkwing Duck, or like some weird ass cartoon as a child, you know, some shit that I never made connections to that this was a dance. So but the time that it actually clicked was, it was after I left basketball. I literally like pursued dance. I was like, this isn't bringing me joy anymore. This is, I'm out. It was like 19 years of my life. I love you. And I moved on. And best decision I could have made. Best decision I could have made. Put me in a whole new path in life. And but my brother-in-law brought me to a Nuggets game. And it was after a Nuggets game, a bunch of dudes went out on the court. And I saw windmills. It was either you or it was Ray.
This is probably one of us.
And I remember, so Toby, going back to what you're saying, bro, from an athletic standpoint, the moment I saw a windmill, it was like seeing a dunk. I was like, yo, that is crazy. That's this shit. As an athlete who like trained his whole life to just dunk on a 10-foot rim, that's the next mountain to climb. It was like, holy shit, I got to learn that. And that was wild. And literally the next day, I go onto the yellow pages and I look up and I find Motion Underground. And Motion was the only place that I had heard of that had taught that dance. And that was it, man. I was like days back from playing basketball in Iowa, went to a Nuggets game, saw some shit that I never saw in my fucking life, besides Shaquille O'Neal doing a fucking, 7-1 backspin. And that was it for me. I was like, I gotta figure out how the fuck to do that shit. And I started and I started to just like pursue that path, and saw the number for Motion, called it up. I think Irina picked up the phone, and invited me down to come check it out. And when I went over there, I walk in and it's packed and mad people are there. And I see on the floor, like, I see all of you, everyone. I saw like Shadow,
Yeah.
I saw Raw, I saw Show, I saw Ep, I saw Dash, I saw Cosmo. I didn't see Fate there that day, Fate at that time was like this mythical creature, like straight up. And then, but then Ray, and the one thing that was crazy, because I was coming from a real dark place in my life, so I was kind of like, I have to learn this, but I also still have this attitude of like, fuck dancing type shit, even though it was like breaking like windmills, like I didn't make the connection. I was still thinking about like my sisters and what they did and stuff, so I didn't think I would see like what I saw. But when I was there, Ray, for some reason, saw me from across the room. He was like way on the other side, and I watched him like come down and come over to me, and he's just like, "Yo, what up?" And he just introduced himself and basically like made me feel welcomed. And I think that was the one thing that like kept me there. I think I would have easily been like, "All right, cool, this is crazy, I'm out," and just left and been like, moving on. And then who knows what I've been doing. But then like, I think with that one just welcoming me and being like, oh, hey, there's someone who, like acknowledging my existence. I was like, that felt good. So I was like, thank you. So I stuck around, and then I took a class at City, the one in Lafayette.
Oh, City Dance.
Yeah.
Yep.
That was the beginning for me.
Wow, bro. That's amazing.
That's so cool, man. Who would have thought, that Nuggets game would have put that domino effect in, and that team more than likely, it was the motion team, right, doing the Nuggets show at the time?
Yeah, it was.
Had to have been.
Yeah, it was the motion team. We used to do like the timeouts and stuff like that with Kenny. Kenny had like a little Nuggets team of hip hop dancers and b-boys and stuff. That's dope, man.
That's so cool. Yeah, and then that you walk in the same door. That's so tight. That's so tight.
Yeah, and that's when when I took that class of Ray's, like he started to talk about the culture of hip hop and the elements, and then the values, and that's when it really struck a chord. The values of this culture, you guys, like the one culture I've seen around the world that all people, all races, all religions can represent and be a part of, and those universal laws and those values that you can live by. It's like something that I cherish, and I actually want to, always improve as a man. Again, like before I found this, like I was down a really dark path in life, and I wasn't who I am now. And so I feel that this helped me to get on a different path and help shape my character and shape me as a man, and made me become a much better person than I was on the road to be. Most definitely, and so it's like, once like I started learning more and more and more, I just ate it up, man. It was just like, wow, it's more than the dance. It's, it's much greater. It's a global international culture of peace and prosperity. And within this culture are different ways you can express yourself. And all religions and all races are welcomed. And it's like, yo, no judgment, no discrimination. It's like, that's incredible. That's fucking incredible. You can express yourself. You can be yourself as a person and be accepted and welcomed into the world. And so who wouldn't want that? And, so it's like, it's important.
Super important, man. Wow, that's so awesome.
Yeah.
So after the City Dance and Motion introduction, where did it go from there? Take us on the journey.
So I started developing my skills through the disciplines that I've already acquired through my basketball discipline. So I started putting in fucking work. That's what I started doing. I started training. I started dancing. I started working hard. I started learning and studying. I started getting my feet wet. I started getting up in it. When there was a circle, I got in that circle. When there was a chance to battle, I called that person out. Or if that person called me out, I faced that person. I think I just involved myself. I just lived it. I just did it, and so that's what happened. It just started becoming more and more saturated in my life. And I would train and I would just practice every day. And at the time I was going to school at CU Denver, and just trying to understand who I was. Yeah, straight up.
Man. Yeah. So that was straight out of high school. You went straight out of high school, came back to Colorado, and you were training mostly with Ray at the time, or was it
So I was playing college basketball. So I went to high school in Colorado, and then I got a scholarship for basketball, and I was playing basketball in Sioux City, Iowa.
okay.
And from there, I transferred from Sioux. It's a small school called Morningside College. It's an NAIA school. And so I transferred from Morningside to a school called CU Denver in downtown. And then I commuted to CU Denver while I went to school. I was teaching.
Dope, man.
Now,
yeah.
The teaching aspect too, we can talk about soon because I'm excited about that part.
Yeah. No. So how long did you were you like taking what you when did you start? I mean, you always were battling, I guess, when you were dancing, but were you just like picking up new stuff from like other studios, or was it mostly just motion and also city dance?
Yeah, so what happened was I took some classes from Ray. Dash was the first person to teach me a top rock. Because I think Ray was just like, had too many people around. He was like, Dash, just go teach that motherfucker over there.
That's it.
All right, go. So no, man. So what happened was my sisters, like I said, influenced my dance, and I had just like gotten out of jail, and I was going through some rough times, and it was around Christmas of that year, and I told my sisters that I was dancing. I was like, yo, I've been dancing. And they're basically like, shut up. And because that's not what I did. And then so that Christmas when I came home, I showed them, and they were like, we got to bring you home. Like, you got to get out of there. And so that's like, once again, like what drove me back home from college was getting out of that situation in my life and pursuing a new path. And at that time, my sisters were teaching at a studio in Littleton called Center Stage Stars. So they're just at your regular dance studio teaching ballet and jazz to all the kids. And because they saw me dance, they're like, you need to come home. And they gave me a job teaching. And I started by assisting my sister, and then they gave me my own class. And the reason is because something I'm very passionate about is coaching and teaching. It's something I love. And if I wouldn't have found dance or breaking, I would have been a teacher, like a English teacher or history teacher. And I would have probably been a basketball coach. It was definitely like something on my radar. And so teaching has always been like a instinctive thing for me. It comes very naturally. I feel this need to like communicate and share information to empower people, just to help them. It's like, it's that simple. And so, so it all kind of happened at once. My sister saw me dance. They're like, you got to come home. I came home. And then like days later, I go out with my brother-in-law to a Nuggets game. And then I see the windmills. And then the next day I search up Motion Underground. And then like the next day I go there. And then from there, like I'm learning to actually teach dance. And that's kind of the crazy part is I had no training. So if anyone ever asks that, like, oh, you have to be like trained for 10 years to teach, it's like, no, I didn't know anything about dance, man. What I loved was teaching. So I could have been teaching a cooking class. It doesn't matter. I wanted to teach, and this was something I was doing. So I've learned too that the best way to learn is to teach. So, I mean, I literally like learned windmills by teaching them. Okay. So I think you lift your left leg. So it was all very experimental. It was very much like figure it out on your own. But then again, like when I actually started to seek it out myself is when I saw someone and people who were living the culture. And just by being welcomed by you guys, like made me educated. I got to chill with you guys. You guys welcomed me into your world, and you guys allowed me to see and to observe and to smell and to taste and to look and to, and so I got to experience it by being around dancers and seeing them get down. And I spent time with Dash. I spent time with Epi. I spent time with Ray. I spent time with Gary, and I spent time with Sho, and I learned a lot. And, just once I got just a nugget of information, I would take that, man, and just study. I would research. I'd go and seek truth. So it'd be like, well, he said these are the elements. All right, let's go check. And then you go deeper and deeper and you start studying. And so I think a combination of just feeling welcomed, and where I came from a world where it was like, no one welcomes you. It's like, get on the court, get the ball. Let's see what you got. That's it. You might get some respect, So to feel welcomed was enough for me to stick around and check it out more and to continue to seek truth. And the more I learned, the heavier I got into it. And I remember times kicking it at Julia's apartment. We'd be in Julia's apartment. Those were the times. That was my learning. Like you guys were pulling out VHS tapes and we were watching all sorts of like Lords of the Floor, IBE. We were watching things I'd never seen. I think it was Sho or someone. I still have it, but I got the first VHS tape I got was Benji versus Crumbs. Like, yeah. And then there was a clip with Paranoid Android, and that one dude, he looked crazy from like the Addams Family. He was like shaved, all white. He looked like a ghost. Oh man, that was it. It was just like super dope. I was always looking for like artistic, creative stuff, and that was it. And then Gary would literally like let me bring blank CDRs, and I'd get to sit at his laptop and make music. Like I would take his music and make playlists and burn it onto a CD. So I've got like all this music from Gary's laptop.
Yes.
Like, come on. So it's like, I just got to experience that. I'd go, to the clubs with these guys, and we'd go to like vinyl. And then right after we go to 2 a.m., we'd hit all the ciphers. We just tear it up. And then the other thing, was the Colorado Crush. So there was this audition thing, and I was getting kind of good. And there was an audition for the Colorado Crush football team. And I was like, fuck it. And I did it. And then I made it. And then it was like, yo, I'm like all of a sudden on the court, but like not playing basketball. It's like,
that's crazy.
That's so dope.
Whoa.
Yeah. So that's really much it. Other than that, just like traveling now. After that, it was like traveling to jams, going to different places. Wherever there was a dance circle, I was up in it. Wherever there was dancing, I was up in it. So it was just like I was hungry. I was hitting the clubs. I was hitting the jams. I was hitting I was going to my own practice spots. I was going to other people's practice spots. I was just involving myself in the culture and trying to learn and study as much as I could.
Man, so when did you make the transition from motion and start kind of your own movement?
That was after Gary passed. Yeah, because so Gary had basically moved to Colorado from San Diego, and he had put together a squad of people, really talented individuals, from like Sarah Vaughn, Krista Lewis, and everyone else. A lot of people. Rico, Faye was up in it. All the motion people. But so what was profound about that was Gary started to, at that point, I was just a straight B-boy. I was just B-boying, and then trying to make some money teaching and trying to live the culture, because that's the path I chose. But because of that, it caused a lot of like, just living rough, So Gary was like very supportive and was just like, nah, man, like, I remember one day I was like, kind of in a shitty mood, kind of complaining how broke I was and just how I had no money. And Gary was asking me like how much I got paid per class and shit. And it was like $18 or $20 a class. And he was pissed. He was like, you should be getting like minimum of $50 a class. And just started like planting seeds of kind of prosperity and, you know, just like value, saying like artists, educators, dancers, these things need to be valued, you know, and you need to value yourself, you know, and that's difficult coming from the world I came from, where you're kind of always a piece of shit. You're kind of always worthless until, you know, you earn it in that one moment in sports glory. And then the next day it starts back over and you're a piece of shit again, you know, you got to get back into that. So to have that kind of support from someone you looked up to was really important. And then he provided an opportunity for a lot of dancers. He was preparing a lot of dancers for Monster Shop Bumpin' and something called Break Shop. And it was just this concept of like, if you have timeless music, then you can create timeless movement, timeless choreography, right? And so then if you have something like that, you have a product. And then that product could be, you know, provided as a service for instance, state fairs. And then we could actually provide shows consistently around the United States and further with like 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 like productions, and go do that and actually live the life of an artist, but actually make some type of like fair pay, some type of like, you know, like something respectable, you know, where you're not just like doing it for crumbs. Like, I mean, I don't dance for money, you know, but like if you want to dance and you got to put your life into that, then you got to find a way to survive. And so then you got to find a way to make money. Yep. And so it's just a matter of compromise and sacrifice. So you got to do what you got to do. And so someone like Gary really like, I think inspired a lot of people to like try to turn their art into some kind of a business, into some kind of a sustainable thing for themselves, so that they can value themselves, respect themselves, and value what they do. Yeah. So that was big. But then Gary got sick, man, and he passed away within, you know, a few days. Once that happened, to me, it was like a star exploding. Everybody kind of went their own way. And, you know, I just went back south. And again, like my work ethic and discipline and purpose never changed. I'm still doing what I've intended to do. So I just kept doing it and I just kept training. But I had walked away with invaluable knowledge and wisdom. He taught me how to choreograph. You know, he taught me that you can be more than a b-boy. I didn't even start b-boying. I started kind of popping like whack, liquid shit. So like, you know, helped me to understand like who I really want to be, so that I don't conform to anything or anyone. And I pursue that life of truth within my own heart. And yeah, that definitely was so inspiring, you know, and I think so many of us can all attest to that. And just to watch him dance effortlessly, you know, he got down so effortlessly to the music that he was the music. It wasn't even like when it was like he's G, and then he starts dancing and it's just a ball of light and you're just like and then he comes back.
Yeah.
and it wasn't the moves. It was this deep spiritual connection that I think most dancers wish they had, you know. True. Which I think everyone has the ability to, but like he was just swimming in it. And, you know, so it was just like, it was what he was. That was him. So he embodied it. He didn't just do it.
No, he tapped into something else for sure.
He was the song, like he was the music. He was it. He was the physical embodiment. He was the physical instrument. He was the form. And you know,
I mean, I only got to see him dance maybe once or twice in my lifetime, you know, and I didn't even know it was him, like from just an audience perspective. And it's just like, who is that rolling with GWT, you know?
Well, and now that's cool too, Tobias, because first of all, G was inspired by GWT. And, you know, like, I think for Gary, like he came in student mindset. Like he was humbly training too. Like you wouldn't think the dude was, you know, on the level he was. He was just a normal guy. He was really chill, a really nice guy. You know, he wouldn't speak to you like he's better than you. So it was just like, treat you like a human being, man. It's that simple.
Gary Kendall, man, rest in peace.
Yes, dude. Shout out to Gary, man.
It's crazy how he's had such a huge influence on so many people, you know?
Very interesting. I mean, I'll never forget that day he invited us to his house. I was so honored. I think I even like, man, like, I think I might have like shed a tear that night, because like that was like a noble, like inspiring thing to just even be recognized by someone like that, you know? Just like, it's incredible.
Yeah, so inspiring, man. I'm so happy that you had time and moments with him while he was here, because man, he just touched so many people in so many special ways, you know, that, you know, like even more than dance, you know. And I'm just happy that you got to experience that. That's dope.
I'm blessed for it, bro. I'm blessed for it. I never even, like, you know, it's a beautiful thing. It's like, I'm glad what the Jabberwockies did in terms of honoring Gary and, you know, doing all that stuff. But I'm more thankful to have met the man than seeing something like Jabberwockies. You know, it's more about like the person that actually, you know, embodied that mindset and created that. You know, it's more valuable to know the person behind the mask.
Exactly. I love that. Yes.
That's it.
Dope. That's so dope. Man, so is there a specific moment with Gary that really just, I mean, anything else? Like, did you have a favorite dance moment with him or anything, or just another moment with him?
Dude, there's this is not a good story at all, but it was vinyl. We all were at vinyl and we were just ciphering all night. And then that evening we went to 2 a.m. And yeah, I was in a different place, but when I was with you guys and when I saw that was wild for me. Because again, too, it wasn't like I was watching a bunch of humans dancing. It was just, it turned into like these beings, you know, just back and forth. But yeah, man, that was a crazy night. But really, it was those small things that I said. It was the small things he did, just taking time to speak to you and to actually listen to you, and then actually formulate a thought about it, and to actually share that thought with care. Like that was enough for me to, you know, like believe in him and trust him, you know, and that was cool. And at the same side too, it was just like, I understood at that time too what hip hop was in terms of an outlet to express yourself. And that was my journey right there. That was like, yo, I'm like breaking free of my own chains, and I'm going to discover the man that I am, and not necessarily actually discover it. I'm going to fucking define it.
Yes, absolutely. So dope.
Dude, that's so dope, bro, man. So once the kind of explosion happened and everyone scattered in their own directions, yeah, take us there.
Then it was like a bunch of things just happened, I think. You know, again, like I think for me, the blessing that I've been able to receive in this is the twofold. It's like I found two art forms. I found the street dance breaking, the predominant physical dance form of hip hop, and I found teaching, you know, and teaching in a way that allowed me to focus on an activity that can be healing and healthy for children, but also help provide them with life lessons, with tools that they can use in life. And that really is my passion, is something that has shaped me as a man and has put me on a better path, that has saved my life, I have an opportunity to organize that information properly and find a way to deliver it in a way that's meaningful to a child that can help them. It's like that's my blessing is I've been able to find an outlet for myself to release this whatever rage is in me, this energy, this thing that I think a lot of men can relate to, where we don't really know what to do with this, you know, and we're just full of energy and we rarely have an outlet in the society to express ourselves. We have a lot of boys in the society that don't get the opportunity to cry, to feel emotion, to speak about their emotion, to have some kind of help. And so, you know, my own past growing up with basketball dealt with a lot of men who didn't give a fuck about me because it was about a fucking game and it was about winning. And so they would treat you however they needed to get to the outcome that they were trying to get.
Yeah.
You're, you know, 11 years old, 12, 13, 14, it doesn't matter. Because the treatment of that child for a fucking trophy is what my mission is. I am not going to be what they were. This is my opportunity to be the coach I never received. And so that's kind of the intention, is like, I want to apply my own values as a man, my principles as a man. I also want to incorporate the values of hip hop culture. And I want to find a way to organize this and allow people the chance to discover it within themselves and to use it for their own lives. And that's it. That's it. We, you know, like I do not want any of my students to be something they are not. So when we are teaching, we are trying to discover truth. And from truth, we just get out of people's way and let them start to seek their own and start to discover within themselves. So yeah, man, teaching, man, I could talk all day about it. So that's
so dope, though. Yeah, I mean, that's what you're passionate about, though, is, you know, and it's crazy because a lot of people's stories are they learn it, but then they rat away. There's someone that's either having them reproduce what they know or like teach another crowd, and it's so crazy how it kind of just starts spreading slowly, and there's certain bubbles that kind of get infected with us, you know, like it's just like, you know, you because we're going around, other people are getting, you know, the movement's starting to go off and spread on them, and you know, it's just it's very just the ripples effect that's kind of happening with everyone is just and you know, for the ripples that you've had, you know, I think it just, you've been able to go from student to mentor to, you know, having your own dance teams and, you know, competing, you know, with just as hard as anyone else in the scene, you know. It's just very inspiring.
Thanks, brother.
Yeah,
man, a big part of it too was, you know, like I said, like there wasn't like a lot of resources at the time, you know, like I was very fortunate to meet those guys. Because if you didn't meet GWT, like how the fuck are you gonna learn breaking? Like at that time, like the only way to learn breaking was through G-Dub, because there was no one else. Like unless you were at the club and you saw some B-boys and then you had the courage to go up and speak to them. But it was like, and then maybe ask them like, hey, could you maybe show me a dance move? You know, but other than that, no education. I had to ask questions to get my answers. I had to go to the people and ask them. You know, and so it was like, that was it. It was like, yo, how is this thing out here that can help the lives of so many people, and yet there are no resources for people to have it in their lives? And why the fuck are there stigmas around it? And there's so much ignorance. It's like, it's still like, again, there's 40 fucking dance studios in Colorado that teach hip hop. And it's like mostly white women. And it's like, yo, the education is so important. If it doesn't get passed on to the next generation, it's going to die with these people that were doing it themselves. Yeah. So it needs to be passed on. And how can we articulate that properly? How can we organize that properly? Because if not, if you do not know what it is, how will you ever experience it? And so that was a realization, was just like, there's no education. And what was crazy for me is I just started teaching it, and without even knowing what it was, which is kind of funny because I wasn't trying to do anything negative. I was just like, yo, this thing's crazy, you guys. I'm just trying to pass that information on to someone else. But then as I started actually learning, it was just like I was a student while I was passing it on and teaching it to other people. But the people I was teaching to were kids. And so, it was just like taking something like and simplifying it for them to understand, and not burdening them with it, just explaining it to them. Like, yo, did you know, like, hip hop is more than dance? Did you know hip hop is more than music? Do you know what hip hop is? Who can tell me what hip hop is? Anyone? And then you're going to get an array of different things. But then, like, okay, well, how come there's just so many, it's just never concrete. It's just never understood fully. And so, yeah, it was just like, yo, I'm going to seek my own truth. And as I started to understand my own truth behind it, I just started to share it with people. Think of it as like planting seeds. It was like planting a bunch of seeds and then nurturing it and then allowing it to grow. And once it grew, though, it was like, get out of its way, let it grow. It's alive, So yeah, that was it. It's just like, man, no one's, how do you learn this? And, everyone wants to learn it. And then one thing I also noticed too is just how B-boys are just so, arrogant. And so it was just like, how's anyone going to feel good about what they're doing with this shit when like all these B-boys are trying to make people fucking feel like assholes? So it was like, no one's going to want to even be a part of this. So let's actually chill out on that. Let's actually start understanding what hip hop culture is, the history behind it, the origin, why it's here, why it even came about, these different art forms within the culture, all these values that represent this culture, which are universal values in all human society. And how can we actually start to, organize this information so that we can share it in a way that people can understand, and then create a environment for them to express themselves. And I think that's what, like, the concept of School of Breaking was like, take a street dance, take a street culture, and take it off of the street and put it into a safe environment where kids can be nurtured. They can be themselves. They can grow in a safe place. Plus they can be educated, And so, that was, probably the coach in me who I don't glorify the streets. I don't. And I think that's why too, like, hip hop to me was not the rappers. It was the athletes, these men who fucking had their shit together, who were fucking champions, like they weren't victims. They lived their life and they worked hard for what they did. And then there you go. Then you start learning about like some of the founders within the culture, some of the people who influence the culture. It's like, these people are self-made. These people created it. It's like creating something out of nothing. And so any human can do that. Any human can create. We're creators. So like, we have to somehow empower people. And this is a culture that can empower people. Oh, there you go. So it gives me purpose. It's like, great, here's something that can empower people. Here are different ways to provide tools that they can apply in their life. And on top of that, they get to learn to dance. They get to enjoy music. They get to, build confidence. They get to develop some kind of patience. They get to learn how to breathe and how to think and how to speak. And all of a sudden, they start to embody like life, and they get to learn about who they are. And I think that's what's dope, because you don't got to teach a 3-year-old how to break. I don't know if you knew that. Don't tell them how to break. Don't tell them what breaking is. Let them just kick it with you and then play some music. And then it's like, feel the music yourself. And then look at them and be like, and they're going to feel it. And they're going to be like, and then something's going to happen. That kid's going to dance. And then that kid's going to start going to the floor. And then that kid's going to start bugging out. And that's I see that, in the 16 years of teaching, it's like, this kids will dance before they walk. Kids will speak or kids will sing before they speak. So dancing is who we are, and it doesn't matter who you are, it's within us. And music is a great way to trigger and just let it out and spark it. And so it's just it's dormant in a child. Just let it out, just let it out. Don't tell them how to do it. And I think that's what's going to make it like, preserve the culture, is just like provide education, understanding, and knowledge and discipline so that they can, have a foundation to stand on. But then get out of their way, man. Let them be a kid. Let them be a human. Let them dance. Let them move. Let them explore. And let them make mistakes. Let them be bad at it. Let them suck. And it's great.
Right? Seriously.
Yes.
What we're doing then is planting the seed of like, that wanting, that willingness to just release and to dance and to let out your spirit and to make a connection, and you tune into the music. And that's what the first thing they learn. That's like that. I just want to release. And then they learn about the disciplines and the fundamentals and the moves and shit. It's like, but none of that shit matters when it comes to if we're really educating people about hip hop culture.
Yes. I think that, you nailed it, because if you look at like the other spectrum of it, the hardest group of kids to get to dance, as all of us being teachers, is like high school students. They kind of like are squashing that inner child. It's really hard for them to break down that cool wall. And you just like, you want to like, hey, come on, let's get goofy. And they're like, I'm not gonna do that, bro. Like, I'm gonna go sit here and text on my phone real quick, like.
Yeah.
So man, it's so amazing that we have this kind of inside us, that we get to play with our inner child still, and we get to create, and we get to move on the floor, and we get to be, youthful. I think people are jealous outside of dance who don't get to experience and play like we can, and we get to just enjoy being in our bodies the way we move. And it's definitely a beautiful thing that we get to tune into a lot more now that we are kind of, our training circles are getting a little bit smaller at the moment. But still just, I think that it's giving us that fire to build again inside of ourselves and push ourselves a little bit more.
Yeah, bro. You got to know why you're doing what you do. You got to have a purpose. And I know for me, like, my purpose is to find my own truth, to express myself, and to improve myself, and to try to do that through experience and through knowledge and through teaching, through understanding. But it's not easy, and we struggle along the way, peaks and valleys. And it's a beautiful struggle, but it's a struggle, but there you go. That's, if you think about hip hop culture and one of the values of having fun, it's like, what does that mean? It's not goofing off. It's not chilling out. It's not having fun. Is like the willingness to enjoy a challenge, the willingness to take on a challenge and still somehow enjoy yourself through your suffering. It's like when you're teaching a child push-ups, it's like they can learn to enjoy the struggle because they know that they're going to benefit from the effort. There's something you're going to get from it, but it's on the other side of the suffering. So you got to suffer first. And so there's something to that. And it's not good or bad. It's life. And I think if we embrace that, life opens up more. So cool. Hip hop can teach you so much more than just moves.
Yeah, life lessons.
Yes.
Life lessons, man. Definitely.
Life lessons.
Yeah, I don't know. Oh, I didn't give a shout out to my crew though. Shout out to Soul Control crew and out of California, and shout out to School of Breaking in Aurora.
Yeah.
Huge shout out to y'all, man. That is so dope.
Yeah. How did you get down with Soul Control?
Yeah. Yeah.
So let's talk about that.
That shit was surprising. So basically, through our journey, we provide education and try to also bring people to Colorado that were influencers in the scene that were people that could be educators, that could provide some kind of knowledge to our scene to help our scene grow. And a few of those people, you know, we learned kind of the hard way. Just because you're a famous, well-known b-boy doesn't mean you're going to bring, you know, something of value to people. Doesn't mean you're going to help people. Doesn't mean you're going to teach anything. We brought a lot of cats, man, and not all these dudes really made a difference. Never really came to give. They were just there to, you know, get their money and, you know, get their rep. But it was like there's a small few that really came and changed us, you know, like really helped us in a way. One of those guys was Cujo, Jacob, Crazy Cujo, the flying water buffalo.
Yes.
One of probably the most intelligent men I've ever met. One of the most amazing artists I've ever known. And probably like one of the first like b-boys I ever saw. I think it was UK B-Boy Championships. He was like in that red sweatpants. He was like in a crazy shirt, and he had the crazy hairstyle, and he did his like little headstand thing with his back, and it was just like, I'd never seen anyone do it. He came out and taught once at Motion when it was down on Colorado Evans, and I took his workshop, got to meet him, spend time with him. That was that. That was the only time I got to meet the dude. That was it. And then we were doing we did for 2 years high altitude b-boy b-girl training. It was called the b-boy b-girl boot camp, and we held it in Estes Park, and we did it for 6 days and 5 nights of like real fucking training. And anyone that did that boot camp knows what I'm talking about. And we were up at 6 a.m. We were in bed by 10 p.m. We ate all of our meals together. Everyone had a notebook or a journal throughout the week. They had to write down all sorts of like concepts and ideas and knowledge and history. And the people we brought out for those was Profo One, Ivan, Charles, Gravity, and Cujo. You know, so we had some like really, really influential people. And yeah, Charles was just, man, I don't know. It's hard to explain some people. Like Charles is a deep dude, and he's just like so inspiring, man. Like he's so deep, but he's gone through so much negative stuff in his life, and he suffered so much, and yet he's got like just a heart of gold. You know, it's like that. We all make mistakes, you know, and you know, but it's like, what's your heart like? You know, because we're gonna make mistakes. We're animals. You know, we're gonna be impulsive and react and do something that we regret, or say something we regret. But what's your heart say? What are you doing? What's your motives? What's your intention? And you know, Charles always had a really good heart. And just brought him out a bunch of times. We did the boot camps, and he came out to Colorado and trained in that school of breaking and all those things. And it started off as an educational thing. It just started off as an educational thing. And that was it, man. Like all I was doing was, you know, educating people and running camps and stuff and training. But we got close, and just one day he just, you know, asked me, just said, yo, you want to get down with Soul Control? And my first thought was, I'm not a power head. You know, it's not my style. Like I'm a style head. Like I'm not a power head. And Cujo, when I basically got Cujo's blessing, he was like, man, first of all, Soul Control is a hip hop crew, and there's house dancers and poppers and lockers, and there's graffiti artists and there's DJs and there's MCs, and you don't gotta be nothing. And that was enough for me to know that I didn't have to be something else. I didn't have to conform to this. I didn't have to do anything. I can just be who I am as a man. I'm down. And so that's why I rep Soul Control, because they allow me to dance and dance the way I want to dance. And that's it. I mean, other than that, you know, it was just a huge honor, because I went out to Fresno and stayed with Charles and trained with him, and just to hear the history of Pablo and the history of Mega Man, and just like Bob Mac, and there's another dude on Soul Control named Chase. So I'm like the baby generation, and he's this older dude. Spidey, he passed away this year or last year, but he was the dude that always did flares and power with rollerblades on. Everything he did, he was in rollerblades, bro. Crazy. Flare switches, like crickets, like windmills, like nutty. So, but yeah, that was it. It was about 8 years ago they put me down, and it's just hip hop, man. Like that's it. There's no agenda with it. It's just living it, and just honored to be a part of something so amazing. So that's all. I'm just doing me though, and I think that's really cool. Is like, there's this history of soul control, right, that we all know about, and it's just ridiculous. And to just represent that is an honor, you know. But again, at the same time, I was never a part of that, so I don't claim any of that. It's just like, I think for me, it's just a form of inspiration to pursue my art. It was just like an affirmation to say, you know, you can do this, bro. Do it. We believe in you and we back you. And since we back you, like, don't hold back. Be yourself. Yeah. So, yeah, much respect to Soul Control.
Dude, that's such an awesome story, man. I love that, dude. I love hearing that. Like, I never knew either how you got down with them, and I was always intrigued how it happened, and just hearing that, like, man, that's special, bro. That's really special. Congrats, dude, on that. Dude. That's
what can I say? You know, it's like, again, like, I don't know. It just happens, right? So, but again, too, like, you know, like, don't get caught up in labels either, right? It's like, it's just a name. So I think what's important though is preserving the culture of hip hop and the history of it, because it's an American culture. It's a part of Black culture in our country. It needs to be educated properly. African American, Puerto Rican American youth created this dance. We need to somehow articulate things properly and find a way to properly organize as much origin as we can, so that the proper people get the proper acknowledgement for anything that they've done in history that has helped to influence the culture for the better. And I think that's really difficult, because I think a lot of history can be subjective, and you know, it just comes from like their world, right? Because that was what was interesting to me when I saw the name of this interview was like Colorado hip hop history, and it was like, I'm just talking to me, you know. It's like I'm a part of the Colorado hip hop community. That's like, I'm not giving you dates of like when, you know, this and that happened. It's just something that I've walked and experienced in my own life.
Yep.
That's really all that is. But yeah, preservation of this, because again, if dance and music can be so profound in our lives as human beings, and yet we found a culture during such a negative time in this country's life that helped people in those circumstances to create a better life for themselves by awakening within themselves their own understanding of life, their own consciousness, and they can start thinking for themselves. If you can speak, if you can write, you can think, yo, like, it doesn't actually matter your circumstances, yo. You can be in shit place and you can get out of it. And yo, I mean, how powerful is that? And imagine being able to educate people all over the world to know, like, doesn't matter who's in office. It doesn't matter as much as who this person is or who that person is. What matters is what's in your heart and in your mind, and who are you and what do you want to be and what are you going to do about it? And it's not easy, because so many people don't have that type of support or education, and now they have to deal with their own habitual conditioning and this and that. And it's just like, there's ways to help people through education. Education is one of the best ways to help people, because it's that whole concept, like, give a man a fish, he eats for a day, teach a man to fish, he eats for a lifetime. There you go. That's it. Like, to simply tell a kid, like, you know, you're important and you matter and you can do this is enough. Like I said, maybe I wouldn't have even started this shit if Ray didn't even say hello to me. You know, and that's why I pay homage to him. He didn't have to do that. And that's why even at jams in Colorado, I'm always going up to people and saying hello as best as I can. Because it's like, it's not about, your status. It's not about who you rep. It's not. You don't put yourself on a fucking pedestal. This should humanize us. It should allow us to stand on the earth together and look each other in the eyes again. You know, and so that's what it should be about. So it's like, that's the intention there, is just like, this saved my fucking life. And now it's almost an obligation of mine to share it with others.
Yeah, save others. You know, like the universal just language, you know, we don't even have to speak the same language, you know, verbally, but we can recognize each other on the dance floor through our, you know, just movement, vocabulary, skill level. I mean, you know, it's just insane that we have been able to create this body language. And it's really just our way to connect through like waves of, you know, whether it's music, which is, you know, just really just sound waves projecting at a certain frequency. You know,
molecules, high vibrations.
Yeah, and somehow we're connecting the beat per minute, you know, like our beat, and just like, and we're, you know, processing it, and it's electrifying something in our brains, which then connects to our, you know, just limbs, and then we go off. It's very crazy that we're able to be able to communicate on that kind of level.
It's a real physical experience, you know, like you said, like, we don't hear music with our ears. It's not like all the music's coming and it's like, you know, it enters our pores, you know, it becomes us. Like I said, like, that was the whole thing with Gary. And I think too, like, you can tap into that when you step outside of the thoughts that you think, your ego, your mind, you know, like, you're too concerned about them and what they think of you. You know, like, if you focus more on being in your space with yourself in the moment and allowing the music to just like freely flow through you without you trying to interpret it or judge it, or, you know, like, yeah, just like, it's music. So allow it to play, and then surrender, you know, surrender to it. What else? Why are you trying to dance? You don't got to try to dance, kid. If you're trying to dance, you ain't dancing. That's what, you know, people talk about b-boys and break dance, like, but it's like, but I think though, if you understand hip hop culture, you can actually be an influencer in this, in the jam, in the vibe, in the cypher, by allowing people to tap in with you to that space that we can all tap into, you know, just by being yourself, not judging others, opening your own heart and mind, looking at people, you know, doing that alone will basically break that person's like ice break, you know, like, just break that person out of that fear that they're standing in. You know, I hate that when I see all the b-boys or people standing around the cypher and people are scared as fuck. I'm scared too, but I'm not going to let it hold me back. I'm going to be the first in that place. And so I think for me, like, when I'm in the cypher, I want people to wake up. Like, yo, be scared, but get out of it. Like, face it. Face it. I don't care if you're scared, but do it.
Face that fear.
Fear, F-E-A-R. Face everything and rise, mother.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah. Let's put that on a t-shirt. No, that is
thing and rise.
That's dope.
Tat it, baby.
Yeah. Hugs.
No, that's dope, man.
Like, face everything.
No, that's great, bro. Your words are like inspirational, man. Like, and what you're saying is, it's like that face your fear, and telling yourself that, like, man, like, I still do that to this day sometimes, where it's like, it has to be a constant reminder of, like, yo, dude, like.
Can I speak to that?
Yes, please. Yes.
It's hip hop. It's hip hop. That's how I look at it. It's like, if you know this is hip hop culture, this is a culture based on peace, non-violence. Again, my path would have been violent. My path would have been criminal. My path would have been negative. My path would have been more suffering than it needed to be.
Yeah.
Like, to find something that can allow you to take a different route in life, that can change you, you know, like at the end of the day, like the fear is going to be there, you know, but if you understand that this is a culture, this allowed us to step away from fighting, from violence, you're not going to get hurt. It's a game. And so, like, one, if you understand that, like, go for it. What's the worst that could happen? No one's gonna hurt you. The fuck you scared of? And you know, it's
I fucking love it.
Gang fight. If it was a gang fight, I'd be fucking scared. I still might have to do it, but it's not. It's hip hop. So let those dudes act tough. Let them all act tough. They're sweethearts. You know this. Every jam, you walk into the first part, it's tense, it's tight, everyone's like. And then after the jam, when you let all that shit out, what's everybody doing? Everyone.
Hey, what are you gonna eat?
It's all love. It's all back in order. Everything's back in balance again. You know? And so it's like, we got to walk into a jam knowing this shit so that we can break that fear in people, you know? Because again, too, like, the fear isn't going away, but we become bigger. It's like, there's a clinical psychologist named Jordan Peterson. You should check him out. He's really dope. But he basically says, you know, fear is like a dragon in a cave. If you want to face your fear, if you want to overcome your fear, you have to go into the cave and you have to fucking face the dragon. Mm-hmm. And most people are too afraid to face the dragon. However, you only really have two options in that perspective: is either you go into the cave and face the dragon, or you run from the dragon and it will eventually leave that cave and it will come to eat you. And so instead of it coming to eat you, you got to face it. And what happens is when you actually go into the cave and you face the dragon, it's a dragonfly. It's always like that. So going back to what Epi, like that moment in the cipher where it's like, oh, and you're fucking scared, like, oh God, oh God, oh God. Fucking do it. Because on the other side is courage and strength and confidence.
Yep.
It's not humility and failure, which is what your fear is telling you. Your fear is saying you're fucking whack, and if you go out, you're gonna, you know, humiliate yourself. So don't. Yep. It's not even worth trying, especially when most of us don't even have self-esteem. So it's like, I'm not willing to lose the little bit of dignity and self-respect I even fucking have for myself. So to me, that's like not hip hop. If we want to be about hip hop, baby, then you got to jump into the water. And so, hey, I may not feel too good about myself either, but I bet if I go out and do this thing, then I'm going to walk away a little, you know, I'm going to stand up a little taller. I'm like, okay, I could even gone in there and fucking failed. And it's better than be like, nah, I'll get it next time. It's like, no, you won't. Because that dragon that you were running from is going to get bigger and fucking bigger. And then you're going to be that cat, you know, 20 years ago that was like, yeah, back in the day, I used to get down. It's like, nah. So I think, like, you know, for children, you know, education and stuff with kids is like, again, the whole thing first is to teach them about music and to allow them to understand that this is a dance of freedom and express yourself freely and don't care what people think and be bold and willing to make mistakes and be bad at things. Like, start doing everything you do badly. And from that place of doing it badly, you can only get better, my friend. Through some work ethics and practice, some trying, get up and do it again, you know? And to teach a child to just like, right off the bat, not to tell them what breaking is and try to fucking do all that shit, but right off the bat, just play music and feel it and let them dance without someone telling them how to dance.
Yep.
You know? That way, when they're actually dancing, then they're going to go, hey, you know what? How do you do this though? And you'd be like, because now when it's time to actually learn the fundamentals of something, you must be respectful of that. And you have to be disciplined because this existed before you and you did not come up with it. And so that's like the balance of my education is discipline, fundamentals. You didn't come up with this. This existed before us. Let's learn it properly as best we can. And creativity. So it's like, if you want to really have freedom, you have to actually discipline yourself to work hard and earn the right to, or not earn the right, but you have to earn the abilities that you're trying to attain. So it's like, if you want to develop this move, you have to first learn how to do it. Once you can do the move, then you are free to express it and be creative and flip it and do whatever you want with it. But if it's something that's already fundamental, like 1 + 1 = 2, we don't deviate from that. It's like, yo, 1 + 1 = 2. Great. There you go. Now you can actually use that formula to actually create things in the world. So for breaking, in terms of educating people on the dance, man, it's very much about like fundamentals. If you really want to develop skill, you got to have some technique. You got to have some understanding. You got to have some movement. You got to have some form. You got to have posture. You got to understand what you're doing. But then the most important aspect, which, you know, I think is like, I think is more important when it comes to educating people about hip hop culture and breaking, is more important than the fundamentals, is to understand what hip hop is and why we're doing it first. And to know that there are dances and ways to express yourself within this culture, this way of thinking, this way of living, this way of being. And from there we build. But when it comes to teaching children, man, like over my own evolution as a teacher, it's like, I want to first plant that seed of joy of just movement and music and what that can do for a human being. If I just move my body, which is what my body's meant to do, if I just listen to music, that is where we begin. And from that place, we can start to, you know, develop more fundamentals and skill. But man, they got to know first their history. They got to know first the essence and the spirit of what this is about. And then, yeah, that's where we start. And then, you know, from there, it's like, then some become B-boys, some become B-girls, and some don't. Some become poppers, some become lockers, some become crumpers, some go into ballet. It's like, I'm not here to make B-boys and B-girls, yo. I don't. It's like, I'm a B-boy. Instinctively, I break. I love the dance. I love popping. I love all styles, but instinctively, I go to the earth. It's just what I do. And it's natural for me. For kids, they have to discover it on their own. You know, like, I'll teach you things, but at the end of the day, like, you have to choose this path as well. I chose it when I was younger, and you choose it. If you want hip hop in your life, you want to break, go that way. We'll walk it with you. But you walk it, you know, and so that means, like, for us, like, when we have a kid that really embraces it and he wants to be a B-boy, he chose it. Mom didn't, or these people didn't. It's like, this kid wants to break. Dope. Let's provide this kid with as much resources as we can to help him so that he can do it. Yeah. And no one really had that back in the day. So having more resources for people, I think, is just important. And then that's it. If they want to do it and they want to be a part of it, awesome. More power to you, man. But at the end of the day, like, you are hip hop. So it's like, I look at, like, any of my students, like, you can do it or not, man. It's up to you. I'm doing it. Like, I'm still breaking and most of my students aren't. You know, it's like, dope. Most of my students look as old as me. Like, man, you should have kept dancing. Oh. Damn.
No, you're nailing things right on the head, man, of just everything in which way, you know, starting them young and just letting them just vibe out to the music and the energy. Like, I totally agree with that 100%. I have a 4-year-old at home right now, and I don't like be like, yo, do handstand, do what uncle's doing. I just dance and vibe out, and whatever he catches, you know. It's just like, let them do their thing, you know. And I man, you're such a great educator, and the way you're thinking is really awesome. How, with everything going on in the breaking community, like it being in the Olympics now and people going that route, how do we still keep those fundamental philosophies that you're talking about of being hip hop, the fundamentals, and learning and respecting, you know, that it was here before, and just everything you were just talking about? How do we move in this new era that's going to come of where people want to be an Olympic athlete. You know what I'm saying? And how do we still provide what you're saying is it pretty much just keeping it fucking real. You know, it's like, this is real hip hop. This is what it is. I just know that we're going to be challenged with some times ahead of us where maybe people might sell out because they want to be an Olympic coach, and you know what I'm saying? They're going to go teach in a total different way and not respect everything like what you're saying. Cause I totally agree with what you're saying right now. That is the way you build a kid up into hip hop and let them just flourish and bloom into whatever it is they want to be, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, how do we move in these next era and times?
It's crazy. I don't really know, but I'll tell you my perspective. First and foremost, breaking is a dance.
Mm-hmm.
Breaking is more a form of communication than it is a form of competition, because breaking is a dance first. So like, dance is a way to communicate and express yourself. Breaking is a street dance, you know, and it's a warlike dance where you can battle, but breaking is a dance. So it's a form of communication first, you know, it's a form of expression first. Within this dance though, we can also compete.
Yeah.
And again, too, that's what turned me on, man, is like, I'm a competitor first too. So like, I left the competition world so I could express myself and be free. And then I got to take my competitive nature and also apply that into my dance. So it was like, when it comes to the Olympics, if you are someone that's coaching people, then, you know, if you really want an Olympic champion, that kid better know some fucking hip hop. Like they better know what the root of hip hop is, in a sense, because I don't foresee someone, unless the Olympics somehow affect breaking in a way where it does dumb it down in that sense, where it's all about technical movement, and who can do the most technical shit. I think like, if they're gonna stay true to it by allowing certain individuals within our culture to represent it on a high level, to be able to put their voice in, put their influence in, then it could be an incredible platform for the Olympics to educate people on hip hop culture and allow people to have that, like, that portal open up to their world and be like, whoa, like, that's what hip hop is, yo. I thought this shit was just going on in the 80s. And it's like, no, it's a fucking culture. And guess what? You can also dance within this culture. You can play music in this culture. You can also create art in this culture. And you can also create your own rhymes in this culture. You can also speak in this culture. And so I think like, just knowing those, you know, I think just knowing the essence of hip hop, man, will help people to develop their skills as breakers. So that's really it. I just think like, I don't see anyone really becoming a high level Olympic b-boy unless those kids are actually living the b-boy lifestyle, you know?
Yeah.
Kids that are actually living that shit are going to be up in that shit. It's like, just because you got flare, air flare, or any kind of power combination does not mean you're going to do anything. I mean, all of our kids right now are doing mad power combinations. Yeah. Doesn't mean they're not going to get completely roasted by some kid from Russia or from some kid from Brazil or for some other kid who has way less than these kids and wants it way more. So it's like, yo, if you want to become one of the best, then there's twofold. A, you got to live the culture of hip hop properly, I think, in a way where you understand it and then you make your own choices on how you want to live it. And two, you also train like a fucking high level athlete.
Yeah.
At the end of the day. I'm excited for it. This is what I say though. I think the most important thing is that the Olympics needs breaking and it needs hip hop. Hip hop doesn't need the Olympics.
Yes, thank you.
That's all I'm fucking saying. So like when we're talking to our kids, the scrappers, we're focused on the Olympics. We're gonna help them to get to a high level of breaking. We're gonna let them compete at the Olympics. But we let them know too, because they're already educated in this shit. They've been doing this shit. These are hip hop kids. They know that this is just another event. So this is just an event. It's a global world event. It's a high level, you know, high level event, which is awesome and really fun, you know. But again, when we educate our students about hip hop, they know this is a culture. So they know this is a game, this is something to do, and it's something to pursue. So it's a great challenge to take on, but they don't have to necessarily define themselves by like, oh, I'm an Olympic anything. It's like, no.
Yeah.
You don't even gotta be a B-boy. Like, if you love to dance and break and that's what you love to do, then go for it and just go for it, live it. But we're not trying to make people delusioned about becoming like Olympic champions and stuff. You know?
Yeah.
You're gonna have to battle some bad people, bro. So,
bro, you better get ready, bro.
no, I mean, unless you know, so hey, unless these kids these days are busting 30, 40, 90s, you know, and they're doing like nutty power combinations. And on top of that, they got style, they got flavor, they got musicality, they got dynamics, they got execution, they got tops, footwork, freezes, power. They'll roast you. So it's like, I think the Olympics is a great opportunity for like anyone who's like inspired to break and hungry to compete in breaking to like step their game up, man, and to actually get to a higher level as dancers. But it's also difficult times because we're living in a pandemic where we can't, you know, train the way we all know how we used to train. You know, we used to motivate each other in a community. Like, you know, I never got even the chance to go down to the spot and train with y'all. You know, it's like definitely on my list of things to do. But right now, like most of my training is alone, and I train in crazy ways. Actually, I don't really train the way people probably even know.
Yeah, some not so normal ways.
Unorthodox training right now, right? Yeah.
Underground.
Definitely. Yeah. And I think you nailed it. I mean, if they turn breaking into a floor exercise, it's going to definitely just
Floor exercise.
And believe me, like, I know a lot of people have that fear of like what it could become, but you know, again, I do think that there are a lot of good people within the hip hop community who are really doing their best to advocate for it properly.
Yes.
But listen, like history can repeat itself too. You know, it could straight up be the 80s again, and it gets completely over commercialized.
The 80s all over again.
Yeah, you know, like who knows what kind of people come out of the woodworks after they see some breaking. But at the end of the day, you're so right. Like, oh man, it could really hurt the dance too. It could because it could just like, you know, be whack music. Like at the end of the day, like, you know, I think they got some like lean rock, lean ski, lean rock flag. I think they got some Scheme Richards, you know, I think they got some like real DJs. I mean, again, too, the breaking music, like think about that in the Olympics, yo. The music, yo, has to be amazing. Like, yo, if you don't have the music on point in the Olympics, then it will be focused around point systems, moves. But I'm being optimistic, and I really don't think it's going to be like that. I think it's going to be like Red Bull. I think it's going to be like high, you know, lots of glamour and lots of like woo lights and crazy and super cool. And I think there's going to be a bunch of people that will pursue it for those reasons. But again, I think if they actually pursue it properly, instead of like, you know, whatever ways, but if they actually like go and seek it out in a way where they're learning it from people who actually live it, who actually have proper knowledge of it, then it will be good for them because, you know, they'll be exposed to a culture that could change their lives. So to be on the Olympics is great. Just don't confuse yourselves and don't confuse kids to think breaking's a sport. It's not a sport. It's a dance. Right. It can be athletic, but sport is a game that's intended to determine a winner. It's seeking to determine someone to win, and it's, you know, it's like that's not what this is, man.
Yeah, no, because there's the other element of breaking, which is the cipher, which is completely not judged. It's just filling, it's just emotion, it's exchange, it's communication.
Yeah.
You know, and then you also have like, I do think the Olympics would bring that certain aspect where it's gonna bring newcomers, where we're gonna have a big source where we've already legitimized the art form, but now this kind of just puts a stamp into it, the authenticity of maybe someone that wasn't in a competitive, like us who are like athletes, but have now another alternative, you know, like MMA or something like that, you know. So
absolutely. I don't think we should ever look at it as a good or bad. It's just what it is, you know. And I think like it needs to happen for the evolution of it. And listen, evolve or die. I've never been on that mindset of like OGs in the community that like aren't about evolution of the dance or the culture. It's like, don't hate on what people are trying to create within things. You know, again, it's just a lot. So I think, yeah, I think hopefully it'll be a good thing. You know, we'll just, you know, think about it. If I never went to that Nuggets game and saw someone doing windmills on the floor,
Yeah.
oh, and definitely wasn't, I didn't see those windmills and was like, oh, look at that self-expression and freedom. Yeah, look at the culture, you know, radiating from this human. Oh,
Love you.
no, like I said, bro, from a strictly athletic, movement-based perspective, I was like, I've never fucking seen that shit before. How the fuck does that happen? I need to climb that mountain, and I'm about to climb it. But then when you guys pursue it, that's when it's wild, because, like, you know, I'm thankful for who've influenced me, because it's allowed me to go and question things and be like, yo, is that like what? And just start asking the right questions for myself to determine my own truth. And to each his own, man. You know, it's like what someone in Canada calls scramble feet, someone in New York calls the 12 step, someone in California calls baby love, or, you know, they call it scrambles.
Yeah.
It's just one move, though. You know, here we call it grapevine. You know, it just depends on who you are, where you come from. And it's the same concept as like a kid in India and a kid in Africa create something, and they create the same shit, but they weren't biting, you know, they weren't straight plagiarizing. It was just like, we're humans, man. It's like, we're connected, whether you think so or not. We're kind of like a bunch of drops of water in an ocean. So, you know, again, like, hey, we all look different, but maybe we're not as different as we think. Hey, we're all kind of divided and separated, but hey, maybe we're not as divided as we need to be, or as we think we are. It's like, maybe you are me, maybe I am you, you know, maybe there's something deeper that we just haven't yet understood. So yeah, sorry, I went somewhere else too deep.
Oh, dude, it's so dope. No, it's kind of just that universal, which is music. You know, I just can't wait for the aliens to come so we could share our mixtapes. You know,
It's good. We're gonna be like, what the fuck is this shit?
I want to go off.
Oh god.
Like a new dance. They're like, this is G-line rat.
Air flares? Like, no, just kidding.
Like, we actually call it the Haminator.
Yeah.
Damn. Oh shit. Yeah.
Man.
That's so awesome.
So sick, dude. Man, I miss you, Chase. I can't wait to vibe again. For real.
Appreciate you. No, I think it's shitty times, man. It's shitty times for everyone, and it sucks. And life is difficult, and I know so many people are suffering, and all I can say is like, we're living life, and to just feel it all, embrace it. Don't look at positive or negative energy as good or bad. It's just energy. So when you're in a positive state, embrace it and feel it and be thankful for it. And when you're in a negative state, embrace it and feel it and be thankful that it will pass, you know. And other than that, just do the best you can, and do it from the heart, and try to not hurt yourself, and try not to hurt others, and try not to hurt the environment. And I think if you can do that, then we'll be okay.
Absolutely. Yes, bro.
So dope.
So dope. Chase, you are the man. We are about like almost 2 hours in. We just
man, I'm getting hungry.
Yeah, for sure. You know we're gonna get you back on here. You just have so much to say, bro, and so much good words. I can't thank you enough for joining us tonight and joining everyone, and just like giving us your story, your good vibes, your good wisdom. Like, I appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I appreciate you, and thank you for having me and allowing me to speak. I don't know what I really said. I hope I said something that could encourage people. I don't really give a damn what people think of me. So if you disagree with me, cool.
I love it.
I'll see you on the
Yes. Yes. Do you want to give out any final shout outs to any of your peoples?
Some shout outs, and then where can people get a hold of you or reach you if they want to get in contact?
Yes. Shout outs wise, just a shout out to my family. That includes all my people in my life, and they know who they are. So shout outs to them, and shout outs to School of Breaking for just existing and for just overcoming so much and for helping so many people and just for what it represents and what it stands for and what it has the potential to become. And then shout out to Soul Control again, just for allowing me to be a man and to an artist and just to express myself and to not judge me. And shout outs to everyone in Colorado that understands hip hop culture and kind of the history behind it and why it's even here in this country and what it can do for all humans, all races of humans, all people who represent any kind of religion and any kind of nationality or ethnicity or anything. And shout outs to people to keep doing it to empower themselves, but continue to share it with others to empower others. So if it helps you, then just pass it along. Each one teach one.
Woo!
Bro. Dope.
So dope. Thank you, Chase.
And if anyone wants to get a hold of me, you can go to schoolofbreaking.com. You can hit us up, and we will be there to serve and educate.
Nice. Yes, I will put the link in the bio in the description of this video so you can get to schoolofbreakings.com. And yeah, thank you so much again, Chase, for spending some time with us on Saturday night.
I know.
So dope. So dope. Anything else you want to say, Ep, before we close up?
No, just again, thank you, Chase. Shout out to you, man. I'm just so happy that you came on. We'll get you on again. Shout out to School of Breaking, man, for you guys pushing and doing what you're doing, man. We see y'all. We see what you're doing. You know, like you guys are constantly, doing, making the most effort. And we as a community appreciate all you over there for everything you guys do. For all of us. We love y'all.
Thank you. We appreciate it so much. And yeah, we're going to keep doing what we do. Hip hop doesn't stop on this side.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks again. And everyone watching, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for, I know there's still people right there in the YouTube I can see right now. There's still people hanging in with us. I love y'all. Killing Fields was sending bad shout outs.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
No, dude. Can't even express the love I have for those gentlemen.
Yes.
Yes. Shout out to Psych One for blowing up the comments.
Yeah, man. Yo, don't mess with that dude. Don't mess with that dude in the cipher. Don't mess with that dude in the battle.
I see them training.
No, don't fuck with that. No. If you face Jam, you've got a problem.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh, I've caught a rough spot. Well, if you want to hang out for a bit, I'm gonna play some music, cut out real quick, Chase. But yeah. It was
love to y'all. Much love to everybody.
Yeah, love y'all.
Stay warm, stay safe, stay healthy. Peace.
Peace.
I think I'm back. Peace, y'all. Love you, Chase.
Yeah, much love, bro.